This video is brought to you by BetUS Sportsbook and Casino.
Hey Gator fans, we are here with Chris Doering, Gator football legend, now SEC. What would be the right word? Would you cover all things SEC for ESPN and the SEC network? I don't even know what the specific title is. I feel like every time I turn it on, there you are.
Yeah, I hope not to the point of overexposure, but
No, it's
it's
great.
it's yeah, no, between what I get to do for SiriusXM on the SEC channel and the SEC network and ESPN, I feel a good alignment with the conference, which is something I'm really proud about. And with this season, with Oklahoma and Texas coming in, and ABC and ESPN having the totality of the conference's package, it's an exciting time for sure for me.
It was really neat to kind of follow along on your social media during SEC Media Days. And, you mentioned Texas and Oklahoma joining. Obviously, that was kind of the headlining story of SEC Media Days. But what are your thoughts on our newest conference members?
It's exciting. It feels like one of those things that we've been waiting on for a long time. I mean, when that news broke at Media Days, 2-3 years ago, however long it was, it was such a cool kind of thought. And then now here we are where it's actually coming into fruition, seeing those iconic logos walking around first at Destin and then at Dallas for the Media Day week, and then getting a chance to see Sark and Venables. Like, it really feels real now. So I think Gator fans are certainly excited about the opportunity to go to Austin. If there was a game on the schedule that I wish I was not in the studio and had a chance to be in attendance of, it would certainly be that one. But I think just the elimination of the divisions, kind of the mixing of the schedule, the new teams, and the 12 teams, soon to be 14 college football playoff field. A lot to be excited about during college football right now, which is kind of ironic given all the negative downer stories we've been dealing with lately.
Yeah, I think it's exciting. It's new. You mentioned the fact that, we kind of gotten rid of divisions. We're shaking it up. Less teams are going to be playing each other than in the past. There's going to be SEC teams that we don't see, for multiple years. Do you think that the realignment devalues that conference championship game at all?
Well, first and foremost, I was in the league as a player in '92 when South Carolina came into the league with Arkansas, and the divisions were at that point in time put into action. And the first year of the SEC championship game, it was such a kind of a new idea. It's kind of even hard to look at from this perspective now, knowing what we know. But I hate change to some degree, and I've always gotten used to thinking of us as being an Eastern Division team
Yeah.
and playing the teams in that side of the league. And so it will be weird, but I think it makes a lot of sense. I mean, I still would hope, and I know a lot of coaches probably would argue with me, but I hope we get to a 9-game conference schedule at some point. I just think it's important that we continue to play the teams in our league. That COVID year where we played 10 conference only games, that was awesome. And I think a lot of people realized just what the possibilities were. So I know a lot of people talk about Florida's schedule this year, but I'm a fan. I think it's a challenging schedule. It's got some big time names on it. I think we, as a member of the state of Florida, college football teams here, the big three plus USF and UCF, I think we should be playing one another. That's one of my big regrets, Allie, about, I grew up a big Gator fan. Both my parents were from Miami and went to Florida and graduated from Florida. So we went to all the Hurricane Gator games. I never got a chance to play against the Canes in my 5 years here. So I think that's a game that should be on the schedule every year. And I hope there's a way to find the more consistent way to do that. Because, I mean, the state championship in the state of Florida has always meant something.
Oh, always. And I am very excited for that one to happen. And you mentioned Austin. I have a birthday that will move me into a new decade that starts with a 4, and I'm pretty sure we'll be celebrating in Austin. Really excited for that one. But the SEC isn't the only conference where realignment is being discussed. And Florida State and Clemson are trying their hardest to get out of the ACC. Recently, FSU was kind of labeled a disruptor. What do you think about their efforts to get out of that conference?
Yeah, I can understand why. The ACC's fallen well behind what the Big Ten and the SEC are getting every year in television revenue. At the same time, I don't know that there's a huge market. I don't know that the SEC wants Florida State. I don't know that the SEC wants Clemson, for that matter. I don't know. I honestly believe that if the SEC were to expand again, it would be North Carolina and Virginia, which I think brings a lot of alignment in terms of the prestige of the academic side of things. Get you into some new markets. We don't have anybody in North Carolina or Virginia, so yeah, I can understand what they're doing. And I imagine that the Big Ten would probably be the most likely suitor, unless the SEC just tried to block the conference from being down here. But I understand why. It's just I think they might want to be careful what they wish for as well.
So let's say they do somehow end up in the SEC. How do you think those two programs do?
Yeah, I mean, they're both SEC type programs. I mean, let's be honest. Florida's behind where FSU is right now, probably behind where Clemson is as well. I mean, you look at what the decline of Florida's program started largely with Clemson coming into the state and getting a lot of our best players. Georgia coming down here, Alabama. Florida State's been able to at least stop some of the bleeding to some degree, but I think both of those programs are in positions where they got big-time boosters, commitment to NIL, the stadium, the facilities. I think they'd be fine. But I mean, look at we got Texas and Oklahoma coming into the league right now. I would probably say that Oklahoma's probably the 8th or 9th best team in the league immediately, which is
Right?
crazy to think about. Where would you put Florida State and Clemson? I probably have maybe Florida State 8th or so, and Clemson probably in that same range. I don't know. They'd probably be on par with where Oklahoma is, in my opinion.
We'll get right back to chatting with Chris, but I want to thank BetUS for their support. Watch this quick 15-second video, and then we'll get right back to it.
Michael Vick at BetUS.com. Catch an incredible 125% sign-up bonus on your first 3 deposits, plus 10% gambler's insurance. BetUS, my online sportsbook and casino.
It's wild to think about how powerful the SEC is now with the addition of those two teams. And I feel like Oklahoma's a team we constantly look at as a powerhouse, right? They have been either right there on the cusp, for the last 2 decades. So it is interesting to think that they might be the 8th best team in the conference, but I think you're right on that, which is crazy. Although Oklahoma fans probably won't love it. And I know all Texas fans think they're going to come in and, win the conference year one.
Isn't that crazy, Ali, to think about? Like, Oklahoma's had far more playoff appearances than what Texas has. Oklahoma's won, 8 of the last 10 games in the Red River rivalry, and yet everybody wants to talk about is Texas and the chances of them, being in the playoff again this year and getting a chance to play for the SEC championship in year one. I have a hard time believing that the acclimation is going to be that quick for either of those programs, but I think Oklahoma deserves a little more respect than they're getting. And maybe a lot of it's because of the schedule. I think you talk about Florida's schedule being incredibly difficult. I think Georgia's is really difficult, although we don't, give them the same credit for that because we expect them to be head and shoulders above everybody else. But I think Oklahoma's right there as well. And Oklahoma may not be in the SEC title game, but you look at the last, 4 of the last 5 games, they're going to have a say in who does get to Atlanta this year. So it's certainly not a warm greeting from the SEC offices for Oklahoma from a schedule standpoint.
Do you think that part of the fact that we're talking so much about Texas is that Texas is talking so much about Texas and how well they're going to do in the conference, and maybe Oklahoma's, taking the walk, be quiet and carry a big stick kind of mentality for this?
Well, let's be honest. I mean, Texas always talks about Texas. I mean, they think they're their own country in that state. So it's a unique dynamic. I love Sark, and maybe it's because, Sark has had experience in this league. I watched him, with Coach Saban there running that offense in 2020. I thought he was fantastic. I think he's doing a great job at Texas. And let's be honest. I mean, we either love or you hate Texas. I don't think there's any in between. College football is better when Texas is good. College football is better when Oklahoma is good. The SEC is better when Florida and Tennessee and Georgia are good. There's just programs that you like them or hate them, you want to have them be good because it's not as much fun when they're not relevant.
Well, us all-time Gator fans are actually Texas fans because of back in 1996 where they beat Nebraska in the Big 12 championship game to send us to the national championship game. I was 12 years old, and I can tell you where I was watching that championship game. Like that was that was something special. So Gator fans probably really root for Texas, although they're making it very difficult lately.
Yeah, I don't know about it nowadays, but certainly when we go to Austin, that's going to be I think that could be. I think that's one of the things, Allie, that I'm excited about. It's like, all right, we're getting rid of the divisions. We don't play South Carolina this year, which is weird. Tennessee and South Carolina don't play one another, which is weird.
Yeah.
But, what are the new rivalries that are going to pop up? When we went to divisions in 92, we didn't have much history playing Tennessee. And then all of a sudden, they became our biggest rival, biggest game on the schedule. So, familiarity breeds contempt. What teams are going to play one another now, either existing members of the league or new teams that are coming in that are going to create a rivalry that are going to be all of a sudden microwavable?
Yeah, I mean, I think that part is going to be really cool to see. And I think it's fun to have new places to go and visit. Texas A&M, the first time Florida played them, it was their first SEC game, period. And it was definitely something special. So there is going to be a lot of positives to come out of this. It's going to be neat to travel to different places. And honestly, it's going to be great to play schools more than, once a decade, which has been the case with divisions as well.
Well, you know this, Allie, being aligned with the program as long as you have. One of the saddest things for me, and I think a lot of older Gator fans, is how infrequently we play Auburn. Auburn was one of the mainstays on our schedule, one of the big rivals, one of the teams that shared the orange and blue colors with us, although different shades. But it was it's so weird to not have them on the schedule. So it'll be, and I think Coach Berger said a few years ago, from a proximity standpoint, Auburn is the closest to Gainesville, and yet we're not playing those guys on any sort of regular basis.
Well, Eric's only punt he ever dropped in his entire career was against Auburn, and we lost that game. So I'm all right with not seeing him that often.
Yeah. Moving on.
Right here.